Hey everybody, and welcome to The Void. This is the co-host of the show, David. Mitch is apparently on vacation pretending to have fun with his in-laws, skiing, we think. We're not really sure. The rest of us are here working. Me and Mr. Austin Powers.
Mm-hmm.
That's your new nickname, I've decided.
Oh my goodness.
Austin Powers. No? Too much? Yeah. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to talk about on the show today. My mind is kind of like a bullet train. It's moving really fast, but sometimes there's no one at the wheel. But if it does derail, I mean, I don't think anyone will get killed. It might just be a shitty show. But, who knows? I don't know what we're going to talk about. I do know that I want to talk about one thing. I want to talk about business relationships as far as how to treat people, how to develop those relationships. We talk about customers and how to treat customers and how to be involved with customers, but those aren't necessarily the best relationships sometimes that you will need when you start a business. Your relationships with your vendors, your sponsors, people that, your employees, it's hard for a lot of people to, especially me, like Mitch is one of those guys who's real level-headed all the time. He treats everyone the same. He doesn't judge people right out of the box. It's really easy for him. Me, my emotions are on my sleeve all the time. And so when a guy comes up to me, say he works at the Ferguson Group, and I go in there all the time and I'm talking to him, I don't always care about his kid's baseball game. I'm trying to just get the day on and get my stuff and move on. But those relationships are important. It's hard for me to pretend like I care sometimes, but I've learned over the years to do that, to take the time and say, hey, okay, I'm going to sit here and talk to John, quote unquote John, about his kid's soccer or his kid's baseball or whatever's going on in his life, because you need those relationships. You never know when you're gonna need them, when you're gonna need that guy on your side, and it doesn't. And I'm not saying that you're gonna be the best friends with these people or that you're gonna be going out and having drinks with these people, but you need to know their names. You need to remember stories that they told you. You need to be able to have a close-knit conversation so that when you call and you need something real bad, you have that relationship. And it's hard for people like me that can very easily dismiss other people to grow that culture and have that interaction with people. And the way I've done it is I slow down and I think, I am going to try, this is going to sound so stupid, I'm going to try to be friends with this person. And I have to think about it. Would I normally be friends with this person? Probably not. But it's for my personal benefit and the team's benefit for me to take the time to be friends with this person. Does that make sense, Austin? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The people that you think, oh, I'm gonna run into this person. I'm not gonna talk to this person. I'm not gonna ever be friends with this person, but I need to make an effort.
This episode is brought to you by Field Pulse, the official field service management software provider of The Void. Field Pulse allows you to organize your customers, your employees, your jobs, and your revenue with ease. Field Pulse is the perfect option no matter if you're a business of 1 or 100, and their plans start at just $99 a month. Check out the link to Field Pulse in the description of this show.
To be friends with that person.
I think for me, I'm very much in my head all the time. So it's like a adamant thing that you kind of have to do, where if you're talking to somebody and it's like what you're into and your interest and what you're kind of enveloped about is, have to kind of set that aside,
Yeah, it's like your best customers. Your best customers, you always treat them like they're the cream of the crop, right? Well, I think in business relationships, no matter what they are, you need to do that with other people too that you're involved with. Your software engineer, the guy that runs your website, the guy that like the Field Pulse people that Mitch is using to have his CRM done. You know, you need to have those good relationships, and you need to treat those relationships just like they're your best customers. I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, other than money, obviously, it's money going out versus money coming in. They're more important because you have to deal with them more regularly, especially in the service industry like Mitch is in. You know, some of those customers you may only see once or twice, 3 times, right? But you've been treating them great the whole time. But those people that are on the sidelines that are helping to support your business, you're seeing them, you know, once a week. You're talking to them on the phone once a day sometimes. And it's just, you know, I think a lot of it is why people have, you know, a hard time with relationships is, you know, kind of the culture we've created now. Like everything's on social media. Nothing's face-to-face anymore. You know, when I was growing up, we would go to the bars or we would go bowling or we would, you know, you always had that real relationship where you were talking to somebody all the time. Now it seems like, I mean, what I've noticed is even when it's someone you've talked to a lot, you go up to them and you're talking to them, and, hey, they're kind of standoffish sometimes because they're just not, especially if they're younger, they're just not used to that. You know, I mean, especially like your generation, for sure.
And I feel like it's gotten a little bit worse because you're able to do so much from your phone.
Yeah.
Because it used to be like back in the day where if something went wrong with your car, oh, I know a neighbor 2 streets down, and go talk to him. I know he's good with this. And then, you know, you had to actually go to restaurants and like use your voice and order.
Yeah.
But now it's like you can set it at home, you can DoorDash, and so it's like you had to rely on community much more now. And I think that while technology is good, like there still needs to be a thing of like you still need other people to survive and like make things happen.
People have forgotten to have that, how to have that relationship, you know, and I mean, even for me, I'm 41 and I haven't forgot, but it makes it really easy. Social media makes it really easy for you to just not deal with it. You know what I mean? And before you had to deal with it. And especially in the service industry, I think it shows its face more. You know, when you go to someone's house, when you have a 25-year-old guy working for you and he goes to the home of someone that's 65, that 65-year-old wants to talk to you, wants to know what's going on. And those kids seem standoffish. I know we're getting a little off of kind of but it's still relationship-based. You know, we have to be able to train ourselves, like I've learned to train myself, to care about situations and people and realizing that I can't do it on my own and I need these people to help me in my day-to-day business. I think when, to bring up the 25-year-old kid and the 60-year-old again, we have to be able to train those young guys and gals that are going into people's homes. It's almost like you have to retrain them to think, or, you know, to think like an older person. Like, hey, they're going to want to ask you questions. I wish Mitch was here to answer this. I don't know if he trains his guys on that or if he ever, you know, talks to them about, you know, hey, someone is saying, hey, that, you know, we had great service, but this guy was a little standoffish, or, you know, this guy was not, you know, it just doesn't have any personality. I mean, I don't know if he talks to the guys. Has he ever said anything about that?
Things here and there, like, you know, he'll talk about things of like, you know, having conversations with them up front, like find something like relatable with the customer.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Like go in and you see something that's like a picture of an old car and it's the two of them standing up there say, hey, you know, whoa, was that yours? Is this part of your life? And try to connect with them on a personal level before you start trying to, you know, sell them everything that you're trying to sell them.
He also says too, like he tries to he wants his salesman to sell everything in the job versus sell one piece, then come back and say, oh, well, I found something else.
Yeah.
Like get everything while it's like there and you're, you know.
While it's right in front of you. It does make for an awkward conversation when you try to come back. You know? I think, like we talked about, social media is making that worse. You know, it's hard to, for people to form those relationships. I mean, I wish we could get back to going out. Like, hey, we're going to see a movie. Now, listen, yeah, you're not going to talk for the hour and 30, but there's the 30 minutes before, or a drink before, or going to eat after, or, stuff like that. Like when my wife and I got married, that's what we did every weekend. Like there was a group of 3 or 4 married couples. I mean, not everyone went every night, but 2 or 3 or whatever. I mean, and you had those relationships, and then you formed relationships off of people that they knew, or, hey man, I got to get my car worked on. Where, like you were saying, where do I go? He tells you somebody, you have another connection now. And it's almost like it's hard to, I mean, I know Mitch wouldn't say this, because he creates all of his relationships on Facebook. I don't know how he does it. Like I can't figure it out, because when I pull up the screen, I'm looking for interaction, and the interaction that's on there isn't the same for me, and I think we need to maybe get away from some of that. I mean, it really creates this, this fear and anxiety for people. They talk about all the time. People are, the anxiety is everywhere and fear is everywhere. And, I think has a lot to do with social media, because there isn't that face-to-face. And then when you have to go to I'm going to make fun of kids here, but when you got to go to the grocery store, they came up with what was the term? Adulting. I have to go out and do things, and I have to be a part of society. That was just regular life before. Now it's like they get anxiety to go to the store because they're scared that they're going to have to deal with people. It's like, really? I mean, I know fear's inherent. It's there to protect us. But when you can't say, I'm not going to be afraid of that, and I'm going to go do this, and it's running your life, it's a serious problem, right? And it's just, I mean, all that stuff it makes you second guess yourself. I mean, you're sad because you don't want to go out and talk to people and deal with stuff that you have to deal with, and it creates all these problems. And it gets back to building relationships with people, even on just a small level of starting a new relationship with someone that you're going to be doing business with, for the future. Like the whole time you're worried about it. Oh man, I think that's what keeps a lot of people back from starting their own business, is they're not only afraid of the money loss, but they're afraid of, how do I get started? How do I go to a stranger and say, what do I do? How do I get customers? How do I deal with new customers that I don't know? You know what I mean? And I think that that stuff can overrun us, and we lose focus, or we have lost focus of what a real, one-on-one relationship with someone is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Do you think that's true? Am I completely off base? Am I losing my mind?
No, you're not completely off base. It's just, there's been kind of this just sort of rewriting of just culture as we know it, where it's just been it's gotten away from community, and it's gotten much more on the individual. Yeah,
we've completely forgotten how to act as a society, almost. It's so weird. The only thing I don't know is, how do we get, and this is more of an overall humanity question, is I don't know how we get back to that without getting rid of, obviously I know that social media is not going away. I wish it would, but I don't know how we get back to having quote unquote real relationships with people without getting rid of it. You know what I mean? I don't even, where would you even start? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I know Elon.
I'm putting Austin on the spot here today, too. He had no idea what we were going to talk about.
Well, I know Elon Musk is doing some wonders over at Twitter, kind of just opening up where it's you can, and he even posted on Twitter, and this is totally true. He says, there's talking about the political parties. He's each political party has truth, and each one tells lies also. And it's just there's people so entrenched, on either side
that they won't listen to what anyone else has to say.
And they'll kind of just get right on board with things that are coming from the conservative arena, but it's not necessarily true. It's I'm conservative leaning, but there are some things that the Republican Party does. You're just
yeah, what are you doing, dude?
Well, because on Twitter they posted this thing about it says all the days Biden has been on vacation. So I looked at it, and like a lot of the days are on the weekends, and so I'm like, they're counting those as vacation.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be, right?
So I'm just like, well, it's kind of a little misleading, you know.
Yeah. Do you think that the lack of relationship building, like we've been talking about here, has created a bigger wall between people on either side in this country because they really don't. You know, back in the day when you had a relationship with someone, when I say relationship, I mean face-to-face, like a face-to-face friend or face-to-face group of friends or girlfriend or boss or whatever. When you're standing there face-to-face with someone and they disagree with you, it's a lot harder to say you're a fucking dipshit because that person might have punched you in the mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that has the lack of relationship building and the lack of people being able to deal with other people's viewpoints and having the social media where you can be a telephone tough guy, you know, no one's right in front of you, has created a more entrenched society on both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's from that. I mean, I think a lot of it is, but I'm just not sure. You know?
When you're in person, you can't just step away from the computer, so to speak. It's the whole, like, what's a detriment to society is, like, for instance, what Facebook's doing on their Facebook groups where you're able to post anonymously now.
Yeah.
The whole idea of, like, what builds a society is sharing your ideas and having those ideas tested. And
constantly tested.
Yeah, and then just like being able to say ideas and having someone shoot those ideas down. It's like that's kind of what builds a society.
Well, and that's what science is based on, right? Is the culture of ideas and the culturing of ideas. And when you're not allowed to see the truth, or not necessarily see the truth, I shouldn't say that. When you're not allowed to see someone else's viewpoint because it's blocked, or all you're being bombarded with is stuff that they know you want to see on this side, it makes it impossible for you to have a give and take talk or a give and take relationship, and it makes it harder for us as a whole to move forward. You know what I mean? They think if I'm not right, then screw you. If you don't think that, I'm moving on anyways. You know, and they will only talk to people that believe what they want to believe. And I can't believe that it's really gotten to like the point it is as far as, and I don't mean politics, but I mean just relationships in general. I can't believe it's gotten to where, like, and I'm not going to downplay online dating, but it's like people can't even go out and meet someone anymore because they're just so entrenched in their little group, and that they're so afraid to be challenged or go out. They're like, no, I will only accept someone if they are every little 5 things that, or 25 things that I say they are. You know what I mean? Like my wife and I, we're complete opposites. Like if you met her and talked to her and like got to know her, you'd be like, what? How do they even stay together?
Yeah, people's mind frames could be so like trained to. It's almost like, what do they say? If there's a problem,
if there's a problem, you'll all solve it. Check out the hook while the DJ revolves it. I say, you know.
Well, it's almost like if you're searching for something to like back up your idea or like your truth, you'll find it.
You'll find it, yeah.
And so it's just like it's, you know, and just keeping an open mind too, because like I have 4 little half brothers, and the youngest one, there's just kind of some family stuff happening, and so we were in a restaurant and I saw him, and I went over to introduce my wife, I think, and he was on his phone, so I was like, no, we'll just talk to him after. And he eventually left without saying bye or hi. Things are just kind of a little different. So I could look at it and say, oh, was he faking about being on the phone? Like, oh, there. But then I find out like a month or so later, oh, like he's had a divorce and hasn't told anybody. So there's so many things that like, yeah, that could be true that he was ignoring me. But also it's just like from your perspective, you can be so certain on like, oh, this is what it is.
Yeah.
He must have it out for me. He must not like me. This and this. Oh, he's my Facebook friend. Oh, it's like,
yeah,
you know, it's like you could go to
Yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying. So, like, and the same thing applies to, like we were just talking about, you can trim down the group of people that are seeing your stuff to just agree with whatever. So if you went on social media, which you're not this type of person, but went, oh, my stepbrother John, I don't know what his name is, John, he disagreed with me and blah, or didn't pay attention to me, and I know it's just because of this or just because of that or just, whatever. Well, if there are people on your side of the family that don't like that guy, they'll be like, yep, that's how he is. He's like that all the time, blah, 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 blah. And now you've had 8 positive reinforcements for what you thought, so now you think that's fact.
Yeah.
Even when, like you just said, it wasn't. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big problem with how we are dealing with each other now. Like, even my family, so my dad's side of the family, not my dad, they're all, like, liberal Democrats. They all vote. My grandpa voted Democrat for like his whole life. Like, the Democrat Party was the party of the working class.
Yeah,
when he was young, but it's not now. But,
yeah, I mean, we could have almost voted Democrat like 30 years ago. I feel like it's almost like you listen to Obama now, and it's like, wow, that's a nice Republican right there.
Yeah, well, like John F. Kennedy would have been a Republican now.
Yeah,
right. You know what I mean? But it's like they're super liberal and stuff. But I don't think less of them for it. I shouldn't say that. I think some of them are pretty stupid. But that doesn't mean I don't love them or I won't talk to them or I won't, I don't cut them out of my life like it seems like people do on social media. They're just like, nope, I'm not doing it. We're not having it. These are people in my microcosm, and that's all I care about. And then it just creates, like we said earlier, it just creates this more of a divide that people just can't get over. Like, they get so entrenched that they just can't, for one, they don't want to be wrong about what they were thinking about, and they don't want to be accepting of anything else. They're just stuck there. And I mean, I think the real thing is, and kind of what, like I said, this was going to be a short little, I don't know, what are we going to call these? Like Dave Shorts? Yeah. Short podcast with Dave.
Short Daves.
Dave talks about too much shit, and none of us, his mind goes crazy. No one can understand what he's talking about. Where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Wait, give me 2 seconds. Oh, what I was going to say is we need to be able to do like we do in business and be able to step outside of ourselves and say, okay, how is this going to affect me in the long run? How am I going to be able to deal with this now? I have to be able to, when it's business, it's different. You have to be able to act a certain way and set aside your personal differences for the good of the company, for the good of all of your employees that are getting a paycheck. If you're a ram ass and you're just burning bridges all over town like I do, and your company goes in the tank, your employees no longer have a job. They no longer have health insurance. So you learn to deal with relationships and people and problems and all that kind of stuff. I think we as a society need to learn to deal with those problems the same way you would in business. Is like, okay, I know that we don't agree, but for the good of mankind and my personal health and your personal health, we have got to come together on this and say, hey, look, I know we don't agree, but we've got to find some kind of common ground in the middle before it's too late. You know what I mean? If we don't, we're going to be in some serious trouble.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean some serious trouble. I'm hoping that as my generation gets a little older, and I think some of these younger generations that are, 18, 20, 22, 23, I think they're kind of, it's almost like they're kind of starting to see the light of people older than them. Like, what were you thinking? What were you doing? And I'm hoping that, they can kind of bring us back to a set of normalcy. Like a lot, I know a lot of them are not on Facebook, and a lot of them are not on Instagram, and they'll watch TikTok videos and stuff. But like, a good friend of mine that I see on Facebook once in a while, him and his buddies, I've noticed, are doing they call them no cell phone parties. So like they'll have like 6 couples come over to their house and check their cell phones at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they can have them if they need to, or, do whatever, but in the house you can't have them.
Mm-hmm.
And they will literally sit down and do old school and have dinner or play games or, do all kinds of stuff. And they're young. They're like 25, 26, I think is what they are. I'm hoping that we're going to get, back to more of that normalcy than the craziness, that we're having now. I mean, I don't know. You going to have a no phone party at your house? Party at Austin's this weekend.
I mean, for us, we're not really addicted to our phones. It's kind of like almost like a rule of thumb. Like if you have guests over, it's like if an important phone call comes in, but I mean, we're not like,
There's not 8 people sitting at the table and everyone's looking at their phone.
Yeah, none of that stuff. So.
Well, then you're better than me. And see, Austin, how old are you? I can't remember.
I turned 30 this month.
Okay,
next week.
Older than I was thinking you told me 28, but I can't remember. I told you, my mind's like a bullet train. Someone's not at the wheel. Right now, we're doing 95 miles an hour with no direction. Like, this is a magnet holding us on the rails. That's all.
You don't have Mitch going here being like, "What business?"
I love Mitch. He's so level-headed and just always even keel. I think that's why him and I make good friends, is because I'm trying to jump the waves and Mitch is like, no, we can't. We have to just keep moving forward. So I mean, I'm grateful for him. But anyways, I think that's going to wrap up this Dave Short podcast. We're going to think of a better name
by next week.
Is he going to be gone next week?
If he dies in Colorado or Debbie kills him.
I'm going to first off, Debbie is Mitch's wife's stepmom. Yeah,
something.
And apparently she's a little wild.
Every family has a Debbie.
Every family has a Debbie. Apparently last year she broke her sternum on the ski trip that they're on now. So I asked him, I said, so is she going to ski? And he's like, yeah, I think she's going to ski. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, she's out there.
Yeah, she's the hands on everything.
Oh, it's kind of a helicopter.
Well, just has to control this, control that, control this. We're leaving at this time. I think Mitch was saying that she was sending them pictures and highlight marking the resume and the times. He sends a calendar with these are the days we're traveling. These are the days at the resort. These are traveling days.
Oh man,
wow,
I couldn't handle it. There's no way. And see, that's so we were talking about. So I'm crazy and. Emotions on my display, I'd be like, no, we're not doing that. But Mitch isn't like that. He's calm, okay, and he just keeps it. He just keeps the bus moving straight all the time. That's why this works, right? So if he dies, I don't know what's going to happen. If he dies, we'll do one more podcast in his honor. But I think he's going to be fine and make it back.
We do a moment of silence, but the moment of silence is 3 seconds long.
1, 2, super, 10 seconds.
Yep, and he's gone.
You see? Yeah. See, the train went off the tracks. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening to the show, especially if you made it through the entire show of just me and Austin.
I'm waiting for someone in the comments to just be like, whoever is producing this, stop. Because it's whoever's at the control board, just please.
First off, listen,
stop.
Everybody, no one's at the fucking control board, and this is a crazy train to nowhere. So, we do what we want for fun. We try to give you guys some really good insight. We try to, be part of. If you want to send us comments, you want to send us emails, we will respond to them on the show every time. Or Mitch, last week he called a guy. Did he tell you about that? Guy called in, wanted to know some stuff. He said, send me your cell phone number. He sent it to him. Mitch called and talked to him for 45 minutes. So if you want information, reach out to us. We'll give it to you. Okay, we love you guys. Thanks for listening to the show. And until next time.
See you guys.
See, I like it.